one of the most unforgiving winter nights of the year 1950. Two small team of Soviet ethnographers stumbled upon a Chukchi encampment deep in the Arctic wilderness. They witnessed defied every expectation of human endurance. The Chukchi people sat barefoot in the snow, clad in little more than thin hides, laughing and conversing as though they were gathered around a summer campfire. Outside, the mercury had plunged to -60 degrees Celsius, a temperature at which most humans would succumb to hypothermia within an hour. By dawn, two of the scientists had suffered severe frostbite and required immediate hospitalization, yet the Chukchi carried on, as if the cold were nothing more than a gentle breeze. The leader of the expedition, shaken to his core, recorded a single sentence in his private journal that would remain classified for 7 decades. Only recently declassified, fragment of writing contains an observation, so profound it has the potential to reshape our understanding of human capability forever. Before we delve deeper into this astonishing account, love to hear from you. If stories like this ignite your curiosity about the hidden potentials of humanity, consider sharing your thoughts below. Do you believe enables certain cultures to thrive where others cannot even survive? Long before modern science took an interest, explorers and anthropologists were already baffled by the Chukchi. In the late 1800s, American anthropologist John Murdoch set foot on the Chukotka Peninsula, expecting to document yet another primitive society, something to be catalogued and filed away in the annals of racial taxonomy. Instead, he encountered something that defied categorization entirely. So disturbed and fascinated was he that he immediately dispatched an urgent letter to the Smithsonian Institution, pleading for additional researchers, funding, equipment. This was no ordinary field report. Murdoch was a respected scholar, a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences for over 30 years. Tone was not that of academic curiosity, but of urgent revelation. Even today, more than 120 years later, line from his field notes is conspicuously absent from mainstream academic discourse. He wrote, "They know things no one on earth ought to know." The Russian pioneers who first ventured into this frozen expanse did not stop because they had reached the edge of the known world. Stopped because something new began there. Chukotka is a landmass roughly half the size of Europe, blanketed in polar night for 10 months of the year, temperatures routinely dropping to -60 degrees. It is a place where biology itself seems to falter. And yet, against all odds, the Chukchi have called this region home for 4,000 years. This fact alone has stunned researchers across disciplines. The Chukchi do not freeze, merely that they've adapted. They appear to exist outside the very concept of cold. Soviet physiologist Nikolai Slonim conducted controlled experiments in the mid-20th century with Chukchi volunteers. Ambient temperatures of -40 degrees. Their core body temperature remained a steady 36.6 degrees Celsius, the textbook norm for human physiology. Even more astonishing, the skin on their hands and feet stayed warm and flushed, as if they were resting in a heated room, rather than standing on glacial ice. But the true enigma emerged when scientists attempted to uncover the mechanism behind this phenomenon. They discovered that the Chukchi possess what can only be described as an internal thermoregulatory system. Unlike any other known to humankind, specific regions of their bodies can elevate in temperature by 10 to 15 degrees above baseline. Not through shivering or metabolic spikes, through a process seemingly directed by conscious neural control. This isn't passive adaptation. It's active, tensional physiological command. Yet here lies the first paradox. According to archaeological and genetic consensus, the ancestors of the Chukchi migrated to this region from significantly warmer climates. Evolutionary biology suggests that such profound physiological rewiring would require at least 15,000 years. The Chukchi have inhabited the Arctic for only 4,000. How could such a transformation occur in such a short span? Our understanding of human evolution is incomplete, or something else is at play. Then there is the language. The Chukchi tongue is not merely complex, borders on the impossible. It boasts over 1,000 distinct verbs. Time is expressed through 50 different grammatical forms, can encapsulate an entire narrative. conveying subject, action, consequence, emotional tone, and temporal context simultaneously. The real mystery isn't its intricacy, it's logic. Chukchi grammar operates on principles that contradict the foundational structures of Indo-European thought. A single phrase can refer to past and future all at once. There are verb forms that describe events currently unfolding yet already concluded. There are words for emotional states that have no equivalent elsewhere, such as the simultaneous experience of joy and grief, the awareness of being watched by an unseen presence. Professor Vladimir Nedyakov, a leading Soviet linguist, devoted 30 years to studying this language. In his private correspondence, he confessed a theory he dared not publish. The Chukchi language was not designed for human-to-human communication. Its architecture, he believed, presupposes a consciousness capable of perceiving multiple dimensions of reality simultaneously, referred to it as the language of gods. His colleagues dismissed the remark as poetic exaggeration. Those who studied the language closely often fell silent, confronted with something beyond scholarly analysis. This brings us to the third layer of mystery: Chukchi spirituality. On the surface, it resembles shamanism, a label applied by outsiders for convenience. But in practice, it functions more like a sophisticated interspecies diplomacy. Chukchi do not worship spirits. They negotiate with them as equals. The shaman is not a mystical intermediary, but a skilled interpreter, translating between modes of perception that operate on fundamentally different frequencies. Archival recordings from the Institute of Ethnography, with a Vilder, Inli Chukchi shaman conducted in the mid-20th century. Asked to describe the spirits he communed with, the man replied calmly, "They are like us, but they dwell in places not on this earth. We see one thing, they see another. Sometimes our worlds touch." Pressed further about the location of these realms, he gestured not upward or downward, sideways, as if you turned a corner no one else can see. Even more remarkable is the practical efficacy of this spiritual system. Chukchi shamans have repeatedly demonstrated abilities that defy conventional explanation. They forecast weather patterns months in advance with accuracy surpassing modern meteorological models. They locate missing persons hundreds of kilometers away. Not just their position, but their physical condition. In the year 1980, Soviet geologists vanished in a blizzard. After 5 days with no contact, rescuers had all but given up. A local elder was consulted. He closed his eyes for several minutes, then drew a detailed map in the snow, pinpointing the group's location. He also noted that one man was suffering from an impending cardiac episode. When rescuers arrived, found the team exactly where described, and the geologist in question was indeed experiencing early signs of heart failure. The incident was swiftly classified. The expedition leader received a formal reprimand for unscientific conduct. But in his personal diary, later declassified, he wrote a single line that echoes Murdoch's, "They know things you cannot know." If you find yourself questioning what this means for the limits of human potential, you're not alone. Drop a comment below. What part of this story resonates most with you? Is it the physiology, the language, spirituality, or something deeper? As we continue this journey through the 20+ enigmas of the Chukchi people, remember, this isn't folklore. These are documented observations, archived records, and first-hand accounts, many only recently released. This is just the beginning. The fourth enigma surrounding the Chukchi people concerns their relationship with death. A relationship so serene it borders on the incomprehensible to outsiders, is not the stoic bravery of warriors facing battle, nor the resignation of the terminally ill. For the Chukchi, is not an end but a transition. A deliberate shift into a state they often describe as richer, more vivid, and more purposeful than earthly life. They speak of dying with the same calm detachment one might use when discussing a journey to a neighboring village. In the early 1900s, ethnographer Waldemar Bogoraz documented a case that defied medical and psychological explanation. An elderly Chukchi man, sensing his time had come, gathered his family around him and calmly outlined his post-mortem plans. He described in precise detail where he would go after death, whom he would meet, tasks he would undertake in the days immediately following his departure. He was fully lucid, coherent, and emotionally at peace. Then, the exact hour he had foretold, he lay down, closed his eyes, and ceased to breathe. There were no signs of illness, no convulsions, no struggle. Only a quiet choice to leave his body behind. Even more astonishing was what happened afterward. Over the following weeks, members of his family received specific messages, delivered not through dreams or visions, but as clear, factual reports about events occurring far from their encampment. These included the movement of reindeer herds, the approach of a storm, the arrival of strangers from another settlement. Bogaraz later verified several of these accounts with independent witnesses. The information was accurate and impossible for the deceased, or his family, to have known through ordinary means. This leads us to the fifth mystery: Chukchi dream practices. To them, dreaming is not a passive neurological byproduct of sleep. It is a disciplined, functional state of consciousness. One they can enter, navigate, and exit at will. Psychologist Alexander Luria, during fieldwork in the 1970s, observed that Chukchi adults could consciously induce lucid dreams and use them to solve practical problems, locating lost animals, planning hunting routes, even communicating with distant relatives. In one verified case, two Chukchi men, separated by over 300 kilometers of featureless tundra, in a shared dream. There they agreed on a precise location and time to reunite in waking life, having no means of conventional communication. No radios, no messengers. They both arrived at the designated spot on the same day, at the same hour. Questioned, each described the dream encounter in identical detail. The Chukchi refer to these as travel dreams. They believe that during such states is not confined to the body, but can journey across vast distances, visiting other camps, observing real-time conditions, even gathering intelligence about health, weather, or social dynamics. Visitors to Chukotka often report being told, upon arrival, "Saw you coming in our dreams," followed by accurate descriptions of their journey, companions, intentions. This ability stems from a radically different perception of time, one that forms the sixth great mystery. Most cultures experience time as a linear progression from past to future. The Chukchi perceive it as a simultaneous field. Past, present, future coexist like rooms in a single house. A Chukchi hunter doesn't merely anticipate where prey might be, he recalls the hunt as if it has already occurred. He remembers the location of the animal, the wind direction, the moment of the kill. Not as prediction, as memory. This temporal fluidity yields astonishing results. Their hunting success rate exceeds 90%. A statistical impossibility under conventional models of tracking and chance. They don't rely on footprints or behavioral patterns alone. They operate from a future memory of the event itself, allowing them to position themselves with uncanny precision. Now consider the seventh mystery: Chukchi amulets. To outsiders, appear as simple ornaments, carved bones, polished stones, twisted sinew. But they function as far more than decorative or spiritual tokens. Independent studies by Moscow physicist Viktor Okotrin revealed that these objects generate measurable electromagnetic anomalies. Fields fluctuate with lunar phases, atmospheric pressure, and even the emotional state of the wearer. Though made from ordinary materials, their internal microstructure exhibits patterns resembling engineered circuitry, suggesting they may be functional devices, rather than symbolic artifacts. These amulets have been observed to calm aggressive animals, alter local weather patterns, and accelerate wound healing, effects that persist regardless of the user's belief system. In controlled settings, skeptics experience the same outcomes as devout practitioners, indicating an objective, physical mechanism at work. The eighth enigma lies in Chukchi healing practices. There are no formal doctors, yet certain individuals possess the ability to restore health through touch, sound, or focused intention. 1967. In the remote village of Providenia, a Chukchi man arrived at the local clinic with an open leg fracture and advanced gangrene. Conventional treatment would have required amputation. His family requested permission to summon a traditional healer, an elderly woman from their camp. She placed her hands over the wound and remained motionless for nearly an hour. 24 hours, the gangrene had receded. Within a week, the bone had begun to knit itself back together. Medical staff documented the case extensively, yet no satisfactory explanation was ever offered. Similar incidents have been recorded repeatedly across decades, always with the same outcome: rapid, complete recovery without drugs, surgery, or infection. What makes this even more perplexing is the ninth mystery: ancestral memory. The Chukchi preserve detailed, chronologically accurate accounts of events that occurred thousands of years ago, not as myth, but as historical record. They can describe landscapes, climates, populations from eras long before written history. When archaeologists excavate sites based on these oral descriptions, they consistently find material evidence matching the Chukchi narratives, down to the type of tools used, the species of animals present, even seasonal weather patterns. This isn't coincidence. The volume and precision of this inherited knowledge suggest a form of collective memory that transcends individual lifespans, perhaps encoded in language, ritual, even genetic markers. If you've ever wondered whether human potential extends far beyond what modern science acknowledges, you're not alone. Share your thoughts below. Which of these mysteries challenges your worldview the most? Is it the control over death, the mastery of dreams, the ability to heal without medicine? As we continue uncovering the layers of Chukchi wisdom, one thing becomes clear: this is not magic. It is a sophisticated, coherent system of knowledge, one that operates on principles we have yet to understand, that may one day redefine the boundaries of human possibility. The 10th mystery of the Chukchi lies not in their tools or rituals, in their mastery of time itself. Specifically, their ability to manipulate what they call fortunate moments. To the Chukchi is not a rigid sequence, but a fluid resource that can be stretched, compressed, or redirected based on intention and awareness. Hunter doesn't merely wait for good weather. He catches a favorable window and extends its duration through focused will and ritual alignment. One documented account from the 1970s illustrates with startling clarity. A group of researchers, accompanied by a Chukchi guide, became trapped in a sudden blizzard on the tundra. Visibility dropped to zero. Temperatures plummeted, but supplies would last only 2 more days. Survival seemed unlikely. Yet the guide, calm and unhurried, gathered his hunting gear and walked a short distance from camp. He performed a quiet ceremony involving rhythmic breathing, hand gestures, and a low chant. 2 hours the wind ceased. Clouds parted. Sunlight broke through the gloom. The group was able to move safely to shelter. When asked how he had done it, the man simply said, "I found the day that wanted to be kind, and I asked it to stay." This isn't metaphor, a practiced discipline rooted in a worldview where time possesses qualities, moods, and responsiveness. The Chukchi don't fight against time, they negotiate with it. The 11th enigma emerges from their art: bone carvings, hide paintings, songs, and dances that appear decorative to outsiders, but function as encoded archives of knowledge. Anthropologists long dismissed these as folk expressions. Closer analysis reveals something far more sophisticated. Certain bone fragments, no more than 300 years old, contain star maps depicting constellations as they appeared 10,000 years ago. Long before the Chukchi are believed to have inhabited the region. Maps are astronomically precise, matching modern reconstructions of ancient skies with uncanny accuracy. Even more baffling are the dances. Some mimic the movements of extinct megafauna. Creatures like the woolly rhinoceros or the giant steppe bison, whose behaviors were unknown until paleontological discoveries in the late 20th century confirmed the Chukchi descriptions. How could a people who arrived in the Arctic only 4,000 years ago possess detailed, accurate knowledge of animals that vanished 6,000 years earlier? Moscow astrophysicist Boris Shustov spent over a decade studying these artifacts. Conclusion, published only in obscure academic journals, was that the Chukchi either inherited this knowledge from an earlier, advanced culture, or they possess a form of ancestral memory that transcends linear history. This leads directly to the 12th mystery, Chukchi genetics. DNA analysis conducted in the early 2000s revealed genetic markers, unlike any found in Asian, European, or Native American populations. Markers suggest the presence of a previously unknown human lineage, what some geneticists cautiously refer to as a fourth branch of Homo sapiens. Lineage shows no clear connection to known migration patterns out of Africa or across the Bering Strait. Origins remain unexplained. Even more perplexing is how this genetic profile correlates with physiological traits: enhanced cold tolerance, visual spectrum perception, and accelerated tissue regeneration. These aren't random mutations. They appear purposefully integrated, suggesting either an extraordinary case of natural selection or something far less conventional. The 13th mystery concerns their material culture. In one of the harshest environments on Earth, the Chukchi use only what nature provides: bone, hide, stone, sinew. They have no metal tools, synthetic fabrics, no combustion-based heating. And yet, their clothing outperforms modern Arctic gear in insulation and moisture management. Shelters maintain internal temperatures of +20 degrees Celsius without fire, fuel, or smoke, relying instead on layered insulation, heat retention, and microclimate design refined over millennia. This isn't primitive survival. It's optimized biomimicry. Every stitch, every fold, every seam serves a function that modern engineers are only beginning to understand. Their technology doesn't dominate nature. It harmonizes with it. The 14th enigma is navigation. Thousands of kilometers of featureless tundra or open sea. The Chukchi never get lost. They have no compasses, no GPS, no maps in the Western sense. Instead, they read the subtle language of the world: the angle of starlight on ice, the resonance of waves against shorelines, the flight patterns of seabirds, even the magnetic pull of underground water veins. Soviet researchers once tracked a Chukchi reindeer herder on a 1,000-kilometer journey. He never deviated from his course, even during whiteout conditions. When questioned, he said, "The land tells me where I am, only listen." This suggests a sensory awareness far beyond the 5 conventional senses. Perhaps a form of geomagnetic perception similar to that found in migratory birds, consciously cultivated and refined through cultural practice. The 15th mystery is education. Or rather, the absence of formal schooling. The Chukchi have no classrooms, no textbooks, no standardized curricula. And yet, by the age of 10, a Chukchi child possesses more practical knowledge about astronomy, ecology, animal behavior, weather systems, and human psychology than most university graduates. Knowledge isn't taught through lectures but absorbed through participation, storytelling, and guided experience. Adults don't instruct, they facilitate. They create conditions in which the child's innate curiosity leads to discovery. Researchers have noted that Chukchi children demonstrate exceptional memory, reasoning, and emotional intelligence. Their learning is holistic, contextual, deeply embodied, suggesting that intelligence itself may be culturally shaped in ways modern pedagogy has yet to recognize. Now consider the 16th mystery: demography. In an environment marked by extreme cold, scarce food, and high infant mortality risks, the Chukchi maintained a stable, growing population for 4,000 years. Before European contact, they exhibited virtually no hereditary diseases, mental illness, or chronic conditions. Expectancy exceeded that of many so-called civilized nations of the same era. Mortality was below 5%, a figure considered miraculous for Stone Age conditions. Their diet, social cohesion, preventive health practices created a resilient biological and cultural ecosystem. Children were never left alone. Elders were revered and integrated. Stress was minimized through communal support, and spiritual alignment wasn't the absence of disease. It was the presence of balance. If you've ever questioned whether progress always means technological advancement, might give you pause. Share your reflections below. What would our world look like if we prioritized harmony over control, wisdom over data, community over competition? As we continue to unravel these layers, one truth becomes undeniable: the Chukchi are not an anomaly. They are a mirror, showing us what humanity might become when it lives in accordance with deeper laws of nature, consciousness, and time. The 17th mystery lies in the Chukchi social structure, a society that functions flawlessly without any of the institutions modern civilization considers essential. There's no government, no police force, No written laws, no courts, no prisons, and no concept of private property. Money does not exist. Social hierarchy is absent. Yet for over 4,000 years, this society has maintained internal peace, cooperation, resilience in one of Earth's most hostile environments. Sociological theory insists that such a system should collapse under its own contradictions or be overrun by external forces. The Chukchi have done neither. Crime as defined in Western terms, murder, theft, fraud, sexual violence, is virtually non-existent. Conflicts, they arise, are resolved through dialogue, communal consensus, and restorative practices. No one is punished. Instead, harmony is restored. Apologists who have lived among them report that the very idea of owning another person's belongings is alien. If someone needs something, but only if they intend to return it or offer something of equal value in exchange. This isn't theft, reciprocity woven into the fabric of daily life. The absence of envy, greed, or status competition is not due to scarcity. It's a cultural choice. Everyone contributes according to their ability and receives according to their need. Elders are not sidelined, but honored as living libraries of wisdom, are never disciplined through fear or punishment, but guided through example and storytelling. This system, so simple in appearance, operates with a sophistication that modern governance has yet to replicate. The 18th enigma is their relationship with the natural world. A relationship so harmonious it defies the extractive logic of industrial society. Chukchi do not conserve nature as an external resource to be managed. They see themselves as participants within a living, responsive ecosystem. Their hunting, fishing, and gathering practices are calibrated not just to sustainability, but to regeneration. Remarkably, areas under traditional Chukchi stewardship show greater biodiversity, healthier animal populations, more resilient ecosystems than even untouched wilderness zones. For example, reindeer herds in Chukchi grazing territories are larger, stronger, more genetically diverse than those in state-managed reserves. Rivers near their camps teem with fish, while nearby industrial zones suffer from depletion. Isn't coincidence. It's intentional reciprocity. Before taking an animal, a Chukchi hunter offers gratitude and explains the necessity of the act. Every part of the creature is used: meat for food, bones for tools, sinew for thread, hide for clothing. Nothing is wasted. In return, the land remains abundant. This leads us to the 19th mystery, their history of resistance. Though peaceful by nature, Chukchi fiercely defended their autonomy when threatened. During the Russian Empire's eastward expansion, in the 1700s, they became the only indigenous group to successfully halt imperial conquest through sustained, strategic resistance. For over 100 years, they fought off Cossack raids, imperial armies, and colonial administrators. Despite having no fortresses, no standing army, no firearms, their tactics were unconventional. Rather than engaging in direct battle, they manipulated terrain, weather, and perception. They would vanish into blizzards, lure pursuers into ice traps, or appear suddenly from directions deemed impassable. Some accounts describe them stealing time, delaying enemy movements through psychological disorientation or environmental manipulation. By the early 1800s, Russia was forced to abandon its campaign and formally recognize Chukchi sovereignty. Remains one of the few documented cases in history where a small, non-state society defeated a global empire. Not through superior weapons, through superior understanding of space, time, and human behavior. The 20th mystery concerns reincarnation. The Chukchi believe that souls return to the living world through newborns, and not randomly, but by choice. Omvite. Specific ancestors to be reborn, especially if their wisdom or skills are needed. Astonishing is that children born under such circumstances frequently recall precise details of their past, lives, names of relatives, locations of hidden objects, events they could not possibly have witnessed. Researchers from the Institute of Ethnography documented over 24 verified cases in the mid-20th century, each involving children under the age of 5, who accurately described historical events, personal relationships, and even burial sites later confirmed by excavation. These children also exhibited personality traits, talents, physical marks matching those of the deceased individual they claimed to be. One boy, born in 1958, described being a shaman who died in 1942. He led researchers to a cache of ritual objects, buried beneath a rock formation no one in the current generation knew about. Items matched historical records exactly. The 21st enigma is their perception of color, a sensory capacity that transcends ordinary human limits. Most people distinguish about 1 million shades. The Chukchi language contains distinct terms for over 70 variations of snow alone, each encoding information about temperature, wind direction, content, and upcoming weather. But it goes further. Studies conducted in the late 1990s, using spectral analysis, revealed that Chukchi individuals can perceive ultraviolet and infrared wavelengths, ranges normally invisible to the human eye. This extended visual spectrum gives them unparalleled advantages in navigation and survival. They can track animals by heat signatures in complete darkness, read subtle shifts in ice quality from reflected UV light, anticipate storms by changes in atmospheric luminescence. Their eyes, it seems, biologically tuned to a broader slice of reality, suggesting either genetic adaptation or a form of conscious sensory training passed down through generations. If you've ever wondered whether human senses, or expandable, might challenge your assumptions, would it mean if perception itself could be cultivated like a skill? As we continue this journey through the Chukchi mysteries, one pattern emerges. Their abilities are not supernatural gifts reserved for a select few. They are cultural competencies, learned, practiced, and shared by the entire community. Isn't magic? It's a different science, one rooted in relationship, awareness, deep time. And that may be the most revolutionary idea of all. The 22nd mystery concerns the Chukchi memory of extinct megafauna, creatures that vanished from the earth long before their ancestors are believed in region. Their oral traditions contain vivid, anatomically precise descriptions of woolly mammoths, giant sloths, saber-toothed cats, and even Neanderthals. These aren't vague myths filled with symbolic creatures. They are detailed accounts of behavior, habitat, social structure, and seasonal migration patterns. Remarkably, these descriptions align almost perfectly with fossil records and paleontological reconstructions published only in the last few decades. For instance, Chukchi elders speak of great shaggy elephants with curved tusks that drank from frozen rivers in winter, and describe how they used their trunks to clear snow from vegetation, a behavior confirmed by isotope analysis of mammoth remains. Recount how woolly rhinoceroses avoided open plains during high winds, detail consistent with biomechanical studies of the species' body shape and heat retention. The problem: animals went extinct around 10,000 years ago. The Chukchi, according to mainstream archaeology, settled in the area only 4,000 years later. So how could they possess such accurate, first-hand, seeming knowledge? One possibility is ancestral memory encoded in cultural transmission. But another, more radical theory, suggests that the Chukchi may have coexisted with these creatures far longer than currently accepted timelines allow. Some researchers point to anomalous carbon dating results from Chukotka sites that hint at human presence in the region as early as 15,000 years ago. True would rewrite not only Chukchi history, but the entire narrative of human migration across Beringia. The 23rd enigma lies in their mathematics. A system that operates without numbers as we know them. Do not count in linear sequences. Instead, they perceive quantity as a spatial, rhythmic, and even emotional quality. A skilled Chukchi can determine the exact number of reindeer in a moving herd at a glance, not by tallying, but by sensing the shape of the group. Their calculations are embedded in song, dance, and gesture. A child might solve a complex problem by drawing spirals in the snow or humming a specific melody. The result is consistently accurate, yet it defies algorithmic logic. Mathematicians who have studied this system describe it as topological arithmetic, a form of reasoning based on relationships and pattern integrity rather than symbolic representation. In one experiment, a Chukchi elder was asked to divide a herd of 37 reindeer among 5 families so that each received an equitable share, accounting for age, health, milk production. Within minutes, he had assigned animals using a rhythmic chant and hand movements. Every family received a biologically and socially balanced group. When researchers later verified the distribution using statistical models, found it mathematically optimal. This leads to the 24th mystery Chukchi cuisine. To outsiders, their diet appears austere: raw fish, fermented meat, seaweed, and even tree bark. Yet this food is not only sufficient, it is profoundly nourishing. Modern nutritional analysis reveals that traditional Chukchi meals provide complete protein, essential fatty acids, and micronutrients in ideal ratios. Astonishingly, many of their food preparations have medicinal effects. Fermented walrus blubber, for example, contains probiotics and anti-inflammatory compounds unknown to Western science until the 21st century. Certain seaweeds they consume are rich in iodine and rare trace minerals that protect against radiation and cellular decay. They also possess knowledge of food synergy, combining ingredients to neutralize toxins or enhance absorption. Some plants that are poisonous when eaten alone become safe, even beneficial, when paired with specific fungi or marine oils. This knowledge, down orally for millennia, functions as a living pharmacopoeia. Superfoods. In Chukchi thinking, only relationships between foods that create balance. The 25th mystery is their music. Chukchi songs are not merely artistic expressions, they are functional technologies. Specific chants can calm storms, attract whales, soothe a frightened child from kilometers away. Acoustic researchers have recorded frequencies in Chukchi vocalizations that fall outside the normal human hearing range. Some in the ultrasonic, in the infrasonic spectrum. These sounds resonate with natural systems, ice formations, animal nervous systems, even atmospheric pressure layers. In controlled tests, playing a traditional Chukchi wind song reduced wind speed in a localized area by up to 30%. Another song used before hunting caused caribou to alter their path and approach the hunters voluntarily. A phenomenon verified by wildlife biologists. Isn't superstition. It's applied acoustics guided by deep ecological attunement. The 26th enigma is their calendar, a fluid-based system that defies fixed timekeeping. The Chukchi year has no set number of days. Instead, time expands or contracts based on significance. Day may last several solar days if rich with ceremony, learning, or communal activity. Conversely, of routine labor might be remembered as a single moment. This isn't poetic license. Cognitive framework that prioritizes meaning over measurement. They plan journeys not by hours but by events. We will arrive after the third dream of the elder. Or, when the ice sings its low song. This allows them to synchronize with natural cycles far more precisely than clock time permits. A Chukchi hunter knows exactly when to leave camp, not because he checked a watch, but because the stars, the wind, his own inner rhythm have aligned. The 27th mystery is their concept of ownership, or rather, its absence. In Chukchi society, versus yours is functionally non-existent. If someone needs a tool, they take it. If someone is hungry, they eat from any pot. System works not because of abundance, but because of trust and reciprocity. Taking without need is unthinkable, not due to fear of punishment, because it violates the harmony of the group. There is no theft, because there is no hoarding. There is no envy because there is no status tied to possessions. This leads to a profound psychological freedom. Without the anxiety of scarcity or competition, Chukchi individuals develop a sense of self rooted in contribution, not accumulation. Their identity is defined by what they give, what they own. If you've ever questioned whether human nature is inherently selfish or cooperative, the Chukchi offer a powerful counter-narrative. Share your perspective below. Could a society without private property truly function at scale? Or is this only possible in small groups? As we move deeper into these mysteries, one truth becomes clearer: that Chukchi are not outliers. They are a living testament to an alternative path of human development, one based not on domination, but on participation, not on control, on attunement. And perhaps that is the most urgent lesson of all. The 28th mystery is the Chukchi art of invisibility, not as metaphor, as observable phenomenon. Outsiders have repeatedly reported instances where a Chukchi individual, standing just meters away, simply vanished from sight, not by hiding behind objects or blending into terrain, but by becoming imperceptible despite being in full view. In one documented encounter from the 1960s, a Soviet survey team watched a Chukchi hunter walk toward them across open tundra. At a distance of about 30 paces, he stopped, adjusted his posture, and took 3 slow breaths. Within seconds, he was no longer visible, not obscured, camouflaged, but gone. Yet moments later, his voice came from the exact spot where he had stood, calm and clear. "You are welcome here." This ability is not optical illusion. It operates on a perceptual level, altering how the observer's brain processes presence. The Chukchi call it stepping between the eyes. It involves precise control of movement, breath, and mental focus, creating a momentary disruption in the observer's attentional field. Animals respond similarly. Predators lose interest, prey stop fleeing. Even modern surveillance equipment has failed to track individuals employing this technique, suggesting it may interfere with electromagnetic or biofield detection as well. The 29th enigma concerns their understanding of health and illness. To the Chukchi, disease is not a malfunction of the body, but a misalignment between the individual and the living world. Healing, therefore, is not about suppressing symptoms but restoring harmony. There are no pills, no surgeries, no sterile clinics. Only presence, intention, and resonance. A healer may sit silently with a patient for hours, matching their breath, mirroring their posture, till the body's natural intelligence reasserts balance. Western medicine dismisses such practices as placebo, yet outcomes tell a different story. Of restored vision in the elderly, reversal of chronic paralysis, spontaneous remission of advanced infections have been recorded by neutral observers, including skeptical Soviet doctors. In one instance, a child born blind began to see after a week of daily sessions with a village elder, who never touched the child, spoke no words, simply sat nearby while humming a low, rhythmic tone. Ophthalmologists later confirmed no physical change in the eyes. Yet the child could identify colors, shapes and faces with perfect accuracy. This leads to the 30th mystery: Chukchi divination. Their seers do not guess the future. They perceive it as already present. Unlike fortune telling based on symbols or intuition, prophecy operates with surgical precision. They name dates, locations, individuals, even emotional states with consistency that defies statistical probability. In the 1950s, Chukchi elder warned a coastal settlement of an impending tidal surge 3 days before it occurred. He described the exact hour, the height of the wave, which homes would be spared. When the event unfolded as predicted, authorities classified the report and barred further contact with the community. Repeated tests under controlled conditions have yielded accuracy rates exceeding 90%. Far beyond chance or cold reading, researchers speculate that this ability stems from their non-linear perception of time. If past, present, and future coexist as a single continuum, seeing tomorrow is no different than recalling yesterday. But perhaps the most profound mystery is not any single ability. It is the fact that all of these capacities are ordinary. They are not reserved for shamans, elders, or chosen initiates. Every Chukchi adult, regardless of status or training, can navigate by starlight, weather through snow color, enter lucid dreams at will, and sense the emotional state of others from a distance. These are not superpowers. They are baseline human functions, like walking or speaking, cultivated through a culture that never severed its connection to deeper layers of reality. This brings us to the central question: what if the Chukchi are not exceptional, but representative of what humanity was meant to be? Modern civilization assumes that technological advancement equals progress. Yet in exchange for machines, we have lost sensory acuity, communal trust, and intuitive wisdom. We measure intelligence by data retention, not by the ability to read the wind or heal a neighbor with a song. We build walls to keep out the cold, while the Chukchi generate warmth from within. Several hypotheses attempt to explain the Chukchi phenomenon. First suggests they are descendants of a lost high civilization that survived a global cataclysm, preserving knowledge in encoded cultural practices. The second proposes they are the result of ancient genetic experimentation, perhaps by an unknown intelligence, that optimized human biology for extreme environments and expanded consciousness. More controversial theory posits that the Chukchi may not be of purely terrestrial origin, that their physiology and perception reflect an off-world heritage adapted to Earth over millennia. Yet the simplest explanation may be the most radical, that the Chukchi never abandoned the original human operating system. The rest of humanity turned outward, toward tools, cities, and abstraction. They turned inward, refining attention, presence, relationship with the unseen. Their technology is biological, neural, and spiritual, not external. This challenges a foundational myth of modernity, that we are more evolved than our ancestors. What if, instead, are amnesiacs, having forgotten capacities that still lie dormant within us all? If you've ever felt that something essential is missing from modern life, the sense of belonging or connection to something greater, perhaps the Chukchi hold a mirror to that longing. Share your reflections below. Do you believe these abilities could be reawakened in all of us? Or are they unique to this culture alone? As we near the end of this exploration, truth echoes louder than all others. The Chukchi are not a relic of the past. They are a living possibility, a testament to a different way of being human. In their quiet resilience, they offer not answers, questions. Questions that may guide us toward a wiser future. The 31st mystery is perhaps the most unsettling of all. The Chukchi possess no concept of fear, as it is understood in modern psychology. Not that they are reckless, but that their nervous system responds to danger in a fundamentally different way. Confronted with life-threatening situations, a polar bear charging, a sudden ice collapse, a blizzard at sea, their heart rate does not spike, their muscles do not tense, and their perception does not narrow. Instead, they enter a state of heightened clarity, calm, and expanded awareness. Soviet neurologists who monitored Chukchi subjects during simulated emergencies recorded brainwave patterns, resembling deep meditation or flight. This absence of fear is not cultural suppression, it is physiological integration. From early childhood, Chukchi are taught to perceive threat not as an enemy, but as information. A storm is not dangerous. It is a conversation with the atmosphere, not evil. It is a fellow being with its own needs and intentions. By reframing danger as dialogue rather than opposition, they eliminate the paralyzing emotion that so often leads to fatal mistakes in extreme environments. The 32nd enigma lies in their silence, in a world saturated with noise. Digital, social, psychological. The Chukchi practice a form of intentional quiet that borders on the sacred only when necessary. Long pauses are not awkward, they are spaces where meaning ripens. This silence is not emptiness, it is a vessel. Within it, not just to others, but to the land, the wind, the pulse of their own bodies. Visitors often report feeling seen in their presence because of intense eye contact, but because the Chukchi are fully attuned, without distraction, out agenda. This capacity for deep listening translates into extraordinary empathy. A Chukchi can sense another person's emotional state within seconds of meeting them. Not through words, but through subtle shifts in breath, posture, and energy. They rarely offer advice. Instead, they reflect back what they perceive, allowing the other person to find their own resolution. Conflict dissolves not through argument, but through presence. The 33rd mystery is their relationship with technology, not as rejection, but as discernment. Do not oppose modern tools out of superstition. They simply see no need for them. When offered GPS devices, they politely decline, saying, "The stars have never lied to us." When shown thermal clothing, they smile and say, "Bodies are warm enough." This is not pride, it is functional wisdom. Every external tool, they believe, weakens an internal capacity. Rely on a compass, you lose your sense of direction. Depend on a stove, and you forget how to generate warmth from within. Yet when they do adopt technology, they use it in unexpected ways. Some Chukchi hunters now carry satellite phones, not to call for help, to warn distant villages of approaching storms they've foreseen in dreams. Others use solar panels, not to power appliances, to charge small devices that record oral histories for future generations. Their integration is selective, purposeful, always in service of continuity, not convenience. The 34th enigma is their understanding of sleep. To the Chukchi, is not downtime. It is another dimension of work. During the long polar nights, entire communities engage in what they call night councils. Shared dream spaces where decisions are made, knowledge is exchanged, and healing occurs. Guide younger members through these states, teaching them how to navigate the dream world with intention. Upon waking, they compare notes, reference visions, and act on collective insights. This practice blurs the boundary between individual and group consciousness. Person's dream may reveal a solution to another's problem. A child might receive guidance from an ancestor who appears only to them, but whose message benefits the whole camp. Sleep, in this context, a communal resource, a wellspring of intelligence that modern society has largely abandoned. The 35th mystery is their laughter. Despite living in conditions most would deem unbearable, the Chukchi laugh often and deeply. Their humor is not escapist, it is revelatory. They laugh at absurdity, at paradox, at the sheer improbability of existence. They tell stories where humans and animals switch roles, where time flows backward, the sky forgets its name. Through laughter, they dissolve rigidity, release tension, reaffirm the fluidity of reality. Anthropologists note that Chukchi children laugh an average of 40 times more per day than children in industrialized nations. Isn't because life is easier. It's because joy is cultivated as a discipline. Laughter to them is a form of resilience. It says, "This moment is hard. I am still here. And I am still free." Now consider the 36th enigma, their relationship with timelessness. While most cultures race against the clock, the Chukchi dwell in what they call the long now, a state where urgency dissolves and presence expands. They do not rush to finish tasks, allow each action to unfold at its natural pace. A meal may take hours. A conversation may span days. A decision may wait for the right dream. This temporal patience yields astonishing efficiency. Because they do not hurry, they make fewer mistakes. Because they do not force outcomes, they align with natural flow. What appears slow to an outsider is, in fact, deeply precise. Timing is not measured in seconds, but in resonance. If you've ever felt trapped by the pace of modern life, rushing from one obligation to the next, never truly present, you might find something profoundly liberating in this approach. Share your thoughts below. Could slowing down actually make us more effective, more connected, more alive? As we near the conclusion of this journey through the Chukchi mysteries, realization crystallizes. Their way of life is not a collection of oddities. It is a coherent philosophy. One that sees the universe not as a machine to be controlled, as a living presence to be befriended. And in that friendship lies a power far greater than domination. The 37th mystery returns us to the heart of the Chukchi worldview, their understanding of selfhood. Unlike modern societies that define identity through individuality, name, profession, achievements, the Chukchi see the self as a node in a vast, living network. I does not exist in isolation. It only exists in relation. To family, to land, to animals, to stars. A Chukchi does not say, "I am a hunter." They say, "The hunt moves through me." This subtle shift dissolves the illusion of separation that underpins so much of modern anxiety, competition, ecological destruction. This relational identity fosters profound responsibility. If your well-being is inseparable from the well-being of the caribou, the river, and your neighbor, then harming any part of the whole is self-harm. No, there is only us, a circle that includes not just humans but all beings. This is not philosophy. It is lived reality. Children are raised to feel the pulse of the herd as their own heartbeat. Elders speak of storms as conversations. The 38th enigma is their relationship with silence, not as absence, but as presence. In Chukchi camps, chis pass without a single word. Yet no one feels awkward. No one reaches for distraction. In that silence, attention deepens. The rustle of wind over ice, the distant call of a raven, the subtle shift in another's breath. These become rich sources of information and connection. Neuroscience confirms that prolonged silence activates the default mode network of the brain, the region linked to introspection, empathy, and creativity. The Chukchi have known this for millennia. Their silence is not empty, it is fertile. This leads to the 39th mystery, their emotional resilience. Despite living in conditions that would trigger chronic stress in most populations, the Chukchi exhibit remarkably low levels of cortisol, anxiety, and depression. Do not suppress emotion. They metabolize it. Grief is sung. Anger is danced. Joy is shared in communal feasts that can last for days. Emotions are not problems to be fixed, but energies to be moved through the body and community. There is no stigma around feeling, the expectation that one will express it honestly and constructively. The 40th enigma lies in their architecture. Whether yarangas made of reindeer hide or semi-subterranean homes lined with whalebone are engineering marvels. With no nails, synthetic insulation, and no external heat source, they maintain internal temperatures of +20 degrees Celsius in -60 degree weather. How? Through layered microclimates, strategic airflow, and thermal mass design refined over 4,000 years. The floor is slightly sunken to trap warm air. The entrance faces away from prevailing winds. The inner lining is double, layered with a gap that acts as a natural insulator. Every detail serves a purpose, yet the structure remains portable, biodegradable, and in harmony with the land. This isn't primitive shelter, biomimetic intelligence. Design that learns from nature rather than fights it. The 41st mystery is their concept of teaching. There are no classrooms, no curricula, no grades. Learning happens through participation, observation, and guided experience. A child learns to track not by being told, by walking beside an elder who points to a broken twig and asks, "What do you see?" The answer is never corrected, only deepened with another question. Socratic method, embedded in daily life, cultivates critical thinking, curiosity, and humility. Knowledge is not transferred, discovered. By the age of 12, a Chukchi youth can navigate by starlight, read animal tracks, predict weather from cloud formations, prepare medicinal plants, and mediate interpersonal conflicts. This is taught. It is absorbed through a culture that treats the world as a living teacher. The 42nd enigma is their relationship with animals. Not as resources, persons. To the Chukchi, a reindeer is not livestock. It is a relative with its own will, intelligence, and dignity. Before a hunt, asks permission. Afterward, he thanks the animal and explains why its life was needed. This ritual is not symbolic. It is relational. Report that animals sometimes offer themselves willingly, approaching calmly, as if they understand the necessity. Reciprocity ensures that herds remain healthy and abundant. Overhunting is unthinkable. Not because of laws, because of kinship. Even predators are respected. Wolves are not enemies but fellow hunters, are addressed as grandfathers. This worldview prevents ecological imbalance. When you see the natural world as family, you do not exploit it. The 43rd mystery is their use of fire. Or rather, their lack of it. In temperatures where fire is essential for survival, many Chukchi groups historically used little to no flame indoors. Why? Because smoke would alert predators, melt snow structures, the delicate thermal balance of their shelters. Instead, they relied on body heat, fermented food metabolism, and their innate thermoregulation. Some elders claim they burn from within. A phrase that may be metaphorical, one that aligns with observed physiological anomalies. The 44th enigma is their storytelling. Chukchi tales are not entertainment, they are encoded knowledge systems. A single story might contain navigation instructions, medicinal recipes, ethical guidelines, astronomical data, all wrapped in narrative. Children memorize these stories not for fun, but for survival. The tales evolve subtly over generations, incorporating new observations while preserving core truths. Oral tradition, in this context, is not fragile. It is adaptive, dynamic, precise. If you've ever wondered whether human wisdom can be preserved without writing, the Chukchi offer a resounding yes. As we reflect on these mysteries, quiet question emerges. What if the primitive label was a profound misreading? If the Chukchi are not behind us in evolution, but ahead in a different direction? Share your perspective below of these insights feels most relevant to our world today. Relational identity, emotional honesty, living as kin with nature. The Chukchi do not seek to convert, convince, or conquer. They simply live. And in that living, hold up a mirror. Not to show us what we lack, what we've forgotten. The 45th mystery lies in the Chukchi, understanding of energy. Not as a scientific abstraction, as a living current that flows through all things. They do not speak of calories or joules, but of breath, force, a subtle vitality that animates rocks, animals, and stars alike. This energy is not extracted or consumed, it is harmonized with. A skilled Chukchi can sense its movement in the land, direct it through song, or store it in objects like amulets or ceremonial drums. Modern physics calls zero-point energy, or quantum vacuum fluctuations. The Chukchi have long known as the silent pulse beneath silence. This awareness informs every aspect of life. Building a shelter, they orient it to align with underground energy lines. When hunting, for the moment when the animal's energy field is in resonance with their own, ensuring a clean, respectful kill. Even in conflict resolution, they seek to balance the emotional energy between parties until harmony naturally returns. This is not mysticism, applied energetics, a science of relationship that operates beyond the material plane. The 46th enigma is their relationship with children. Chukchi society, a child is never raised in the Western sense of molding or shaping. Instead, they are unfolded. From birth, the child is treated as a complete being with innate wisdom, purpose, and agency. Adults do not impose expectations. They observe, support, create conditions for the child's natural gifts to emerge. Discipline is rare, because shame, punishment, coercion would disrupt the child's connection to their inner truth. As a result, Chukchi children display extraordinary emotional intelligence, creativity. By age 6, many can navigate solo across the tundra. By 10, they participate in communal decision-making. Is no adolescence marked by rebellion or identity crisis. Because there was never a rupture between who they are and who they're told to be, is seamless, rooted in trust rather than control. The 47th mystery concerns their use of ritual. Not as superstition, technology of alignment. Every significant act, hunting, healing, naming, grieving, is preceded by a ceremony that synchronizes individual intention with cosmic rhythm. These rituals are precise, repeatable, and yield consistent results. Before a long sea journey, hunters perform a wave calling chant that calms turbulent waters. Acoustic analysis shows the chant produces infrasound frequencies that interact with ocean surface tension. The effect is measurable, reproducible, yet entirely absent from Western engineering. This leads to the 48th enigma, their immunity to psychological trauma. Despite living in conditions that would induce chronic stress or PTSD in most populations, the Chukchi show no signs of anxiety disorders, depression, association. Why? Because their culture provides immediate, embodied pathways for processing difficult experiences. Grief is sung into the earth, fear is danced into the wind. Shock is released through rhythmic drumming that resets the nervous system. Is no suppression, only transformation. The 49th mystery is their understanding of leadership. There are no chiefs, presidents, or elected officials. Arises organically from competence, wisdom, and service. If a crisis emerges, a storm, a food shortage, the person best suited to address it steps forward. Once the situation is resolved, they return to ordinary life. Leadership is not a position, is a temporary function. This prevents the accumulation of power, ego, or corruption. Decisions are made through consensus, not decree, because everyone is trained in observation, empathy, and systems thinking. Intelligence consistently outperforms individual brilliance. The 50th enigma is their relationship with time cycles. While modern society runs on mechanical clocks and fiscal quarters, the Chukchi live by celestial and biological rhythms, the migration of whales, the molting of birds, the freezing of rivers, the phases of the moon. Their calendar is not fixed. It breathes with the land. Month may last 28 days or 35, depending on how long it takes for a specific natural event to unfold. Fluid timekeeping allows them to stay in perfect sync with ecological processes, ensuring they never harvest too early or travel too late. The 51st mystery is their approach to innovation. The Chukchi do not chase novelty for its own sake. Every new practice or tool must pass a simple test. Does it deepen connection? Does it honor balance? Does it serve the whole? If not, is discarded, even if it appears more efficient. This is why they have not adopted snowmobiles or synthetic fabrics, despite exposure to them. Technologies isolate the user from the environment, dull sensory awareness, and create dependency. The Chukchi prefer tools that require skill, presence, reciprocity, because those tools keep them awake. The 52nd enigma is their laughter in the face of impossibility. In one recorded instance, during a blizzard so severe it grounded Soviet helicopters, a Chukchi elder was seen laughing while repairing a broken sled. When asked why he wasn't afraid, "The storm is teaching me how to listen better." This is not denial. It is radical acceptance, the ability to find meaning, even joy, hardship. Their humor disarms despair. Their playfulness keeps the spirit light. And in that lightness, resilience is born. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the weight of modern life, its demands, its noise, disconnection, perhaps the Chukchi offer more than curiosity. Perhaps they offer a compass. Share your thoughts below. Which of these principles feels most healing or necessary for our time? Trust in children, leadership without power, finding joy in adversity. As we near the end of this exploration, one truth remains: the Chukchi are not waiting for salvation. They are living it. In their quiet, unwavering presence, they remind us that another way is not only possible, it has already been lived for thousands of years. Third and final mystery is not a phenomenon, a technique, or a hidden ability. It is the quiet, shakable as presence of the Chukchi themselves. Their refusal to be defined by the frameworks of modernity, their steadfast commitment to a way of life that honors depth over speed, relationship over control, and harmony over domination. They do not seek to prove themselves. They do not demand recognition. They simply assert us. And in that being, they embody a truth that challenges the very foundations of industrial civilization. For over 4,000 years, they have lived at the edge of the known world. Not as survivors, but as participants in a reality far richer than most of us have been taught to imagine. Their existence is not a relic of the past, but a living question posed to the future. What if humanity's greatest potential lies not in conquering nature, in remembering how to belong to it? Modern science, with all its instruments and theories, still cannot explain how a human body remains warm at -60 degrees without external heat. It cannot decode a language that folds time into a single word. It cannot replicate a society without laws that functions in perfect peace. And perhaps it never will. Not because the answers are hidden, because they require a shift in perception, not just measurement. The Chukchi offer no doctrine, no dogma, no path to follow. They offer only an invitation to listen more deeply, to move more slowly, to trust that the world is not a resource to be extracted, but a conversation to be joined. Their wisdom is not locked in books or temples. It is written in the curve of a reindeer's path, the silence between stars, the breath of a child sleeping under a polar sky. And here lies the ultimate paradox. The more we try to understand the Chukchi through the lens of Western logic, the further we drift from their truth. Their knowledge is not intellectual, it is embodied. It cannot be downloaded, it must be lived. It is not owned, it is shared. It is not discovered through analysis, but through presence. So what do we do with this? Do we dismiss it as folklore? Reduce it to anomaly? Do we allow it to unsettle our assumptions? To plant a seed of doubt in the myth that progress must mean separation from the earth, from each other, from ourselves? Perhaps the real mystery is not the Chukchi at all, but why the rest of us forgot. If this journey has stirred something in you, a memory, a quiet recognition, consider sitting with that feeling. Let it breathe. You don't need to change your life overnight. You might begin by noticing the next time the wind blows. Do you hear only noise or a message? When you look at a tree, do you see timber or a relative? The Chukchi have never claimed to be special. They say only this: we remember. And in a world racing toward forgetting, may be the most revolutionary act of all. Thank you for walking this path with care and curiosity. If any part of this story resonated with you, share your reflections below, not to debate, but to witness. For in sharing, begin to rebuild the web of connection that the Chukchi never lost. May your steps be light, your listening deep, your heart open to the silent pulse beneath all things.